Morning Wisdom's Tribe, welcome on board everybody. Some of you snuck in while we were chatting, waiting for everybody to come on board, but top of the morning, 1st of May, welcome. Some people might think it's a public holiday, but other of us who are entrepreneurs don't believe in public holidays, so we get stuck in and just go ahead. So I believe we're talking about beliefs, Lee, this morning. So perhaps you'd like to just pick it up there and let's get the show on the road. So yeah, welcome again.
Yeah, I mean, this not believing in public holidays, I'm not sure whether that's a wise thing or not a wise thing. It's the same as Father Christmas, right? You know, when you give up that belief, there's a real sadness. Oh, sorry, I hope I didn't ruin anybody's day. Trevor, you've already been disillusioned, right? So yeah, beliefs. The article that I wrote, I think I entitled it, "You're a Believer Whether You Believe It or Not." And the point of that is that this isn't about a choice to believe in a particular faith or ideology or anything like that. It's actually inherent in each one of us that we have a set of beliefs that have either we've inherited because that's the environment in which we grew up in, or it's something that we ourselves have taken on board. We believe it because it seems to fit with what we think is of value. Sometimes those are beliefs that we have chosen and we adhere to because we want to see ourselves as that kind of person, or sometimes they are subconscious. We're unaware that we're living according to those beliefs. I think where I became most aware that my actions and my decisions were being guided by these beliefs was when I went into burnout. And when I examined what burnout, what took me there, how did I actually end up in this place? And while there were various external factors, I had to look at myself. And I had to realize that there were certain things that were, even though I might have said out loud, oh, it's important to do this or it's important to do that, there were some underlying beliefs that were driving my actions. And for example, one of the beliefs that I have is I must do it on my own. And when I became aware of that belief, and that was in me from a child. My mom tells me that at 5 years old, I told her, I'm going to organize my own birthday party. So I sent out the invites, I made all the food, I planned all the games, and it's a very heightened need to be in control. So we recognize these things in ourselves eventually. They're not, and then as I realized that belief wasn't really helping me, that life is too hard, too complex, too many things happening, too many balls to juggle to think that you can do it all on your own. I have slowly, not easily, but letting go of control, inviting more others, learning to partner better. So that's just one example of a belief that I became aware of and that I've had to work through. But there are other more positive beliefs. And I'm not thinking of any right now. So I'm going to hand that over to everybody else. Hopefully I've set the scene for you to start thinking about what are some of the beliefs that you've had? How have beliefs impacted your life? How do you experience them in your life? And maybe, Ian, Ivan, if you don't mind, I'm going to hand over to Jesper first, because he's the one that prompted this discussion. And maybe there's some thoughts that he specifically had in mind. And then I'll hand back over to Ivan for control.
Thanks, Lee. Yes, congratulations on an excellent article. I read it last night, and well thought through and thought stimulating. And I started to deal with this issue when I started to write the book Legacy, and realized from my interaction with many people how people have self-imposed beliefs that may not even be conscious of, mostly related to money. And it would be in the vein of money is evil, and they just make a statement. But because of that statement, that control their life, and they avoid anything that can lead to money. Or similar to that is, I'm a Christian, or I want to grow spiritually, therefore I can't be in business. Like putting the two opposed to each other. And another thing would be to say, I'm single, or I don't have kids, so why should I worry about other generations? Another bad one that I've found is, I've struggled, and my children must struggle too. It made me strong, so therefore it must make them strong. So people come to, and they don't know they have these self-limiting beliefs, and it just stops them from getting to a point where they can benefit themselves here in this current life, plus be a role model for generations to come. So, and then you added some more points in your article. So I think that's all that I want to say from my side. My stuff was mostly around the area of my interaction with money and society, and why should I care about other generations? And it's very entrenched in large parts of our society. And much of our society problems today stems from the fact that, my kids must look after me, that kind of thing. And now we have kids who grow up and they can't look after themselves, plus to look after their parents, plus they have to look after their kids. And we just create a greater spiraling poverty situation. But that's my contribution for the morning.
Great, thanks, Jasper. I think for me it distills down to one simple statement, and that's, if you believe you can't or you believe you can, you're absolutely correct both times. So it doesn't really matter what you believe, unless you examine those beliefs. So think about what you believe you can't, and think about what you believe you can, and examine those closely. So that's what comes to mind for me. Ian, Sherry, let's go across to you.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I try.
Ian, we lost you there for a second.
Accident. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit new and a bit stupid and a bit old, and it's a bit early in the morning. And
well, if that's what you believe, then it's your reality. Yeah.
I'm in awe of now. I'm in a group of people where they've got members of Mensa, and I'm feeling a little bit, a bit of a plodder by the Mensa racehorses we have amongst us. And I suspect there are other ones who haven't confessed to being members of Mensa. I believe that I probably would fail the examinations. So I think there's several factors of this. I think that probably the most important one is around truth, and a decision we take as to where we get our truth from. A lot of people get their truth from their beliefs, and sometimes it's a reflection of them being unable to think for themselves and just go along with the beliefs that they were taught at school, by church, by whoever it may be. There's a set of beliefs out there, and they use those beliefs to get their truth. Other people, however, get their truth from knowledge, and they recognize that when people say I believe, it actually means I don't know. I don't know. I'm getting this particular truth from some other place, but I'm not getting it from knowledge, and I'm certainly not getting it from a scientifically a process that has been built up in order to make sure that that knowledge is not fake. That I believe means I'm getting it from somewhere else. Then I think there's this kind of belief that you're using in your lovely aphorism that says what I believe I can and what I believe I can't. I think this is not really in belief in relation to truth in that way. I think it's almost a sort of I am convinced that, and it's the convincing of yourself. It's the convincing link to motivation that you're talking about, rather than it being a belief in some entity like God. So I think it's a sort of different style of believing. I think believing in relation to the truth is actually really dangerous. And it creates people like Donald Trump, and Donald Trump uses believing to get the truth in a very, very bad way. And it's incontrovertible. Those kind of beliefs are just what people believe, and there's no way you can enter into a discussion or a debate with those people to actually determine what is the proper truth. So yeah, just for me, I make every effort to avoid believing and try to get my truth from knowledge. That's my small contribution. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say, actually, while I'm here, I really value this group. I think it's lovely, and I value all of you. I don't know you at all, except through this sort of screen, but I feel you're all very good people, and I'm motivated in the morning to get out of this bed into the chilly cold of a wet English morning at 6 o'clock, because I actually really value being in this meeting. I value it, and I don't want to say I believe it's going to give me something. What I would like to say is that just the truth that I believe I have about it is that because we're all good people and we have a nice structured way of going about things, we will generate things of value to other people. So I just wanted to say thank you very much indeed to all of you.
Great, thanks, Ian. Really appreciate that. I'm a little worried, however, yesterday I spoke about the 3 things we should never discuss in a social situation, and that's sex, religion, and politics. Now we've done the sex with Cecile and the religion now with Lee, and you brought up Donald Trump, so we're done for now. I think we just we've crossed all those lines, and there's no turning back now. So yeah, we'll just have to drive forward from here. So yeah, let's go across to Herman.
Give me a couple of minutes more, Ian. Ivan,
No problem. Okay, I'll come back to you now. Okay.
Thank you.
Stella, let's go across to you.
Morning, everybody. Sure, I'm still thinking about this one. I think for many years, I believed that I had to prove myself all the time. And that has also put a lot of pressure on me and on the people around me. Won't go into detail on that now, but I believe I'm now at the right place in my life where I need to be. And one of my strongest beliefs are that nothing happens just by chance. I believe there's a reason for everything that happens. If I look back at my life, I know I had to go through a lot of things to be able to do now what I want to do. And yeah, so I don't believe in it's just by chance. I believe if something comes along your path, whether it's good or bad, it forms you as a person, and it prepares you for what is on your path in the future. Yeah, but I still need to think about this. Thanks.
Right, thanks, Stella. Well, let's pop across to Steve.
Sorry, I was just finishing something in the chat screen. Sure. Unsure where to get started. I'd love to hear more from Trevor in terms of what he's talking about in the iceberg idea. That's interesting to me, what he's floating there. Perhaps he can pick up on that when you come to him. Thanks. Lee, when you started, I felt as though you backed away from the word dictate. You can nod if I'm on the right. Okay, yeah. My sense is that our beliefs do dictate to us. And I think in some ways we are captive to our beliefs. And I think whether you're talking about truth, oh man, truth is such a complex topic. We won't even be able to scratch the surface. But we have to just kind of put truth out there. When you're aiming at truth, so much of your aim at truth comes through the lenses of all your beliefs. That's how you're trying to access it. So the idea of sort of objective empiricism for me is a bit of a falsehood. I think we aim towards some of those things, but your underlying beliefs do dictate. And so I think the question is whether you're willing to face them and whether you're willing to be a willing captive and negotiate a little bit around with your guards, or whether you're just going to be an unknowing captive of your beliefs. So that idea of reflexive thinking that Lee put on the chat, thinking about your thinking. If you're unwilling to investigate these lenses, it's not possible to talk about truth, I don't think, unless you're willing to look at those beliefs that underpin the way in which you look at truth. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
Right, thanks, Steve. Let's pop across to Trevor then, seeing that you're pointing fingers at him, so we'll find out what the icebergs are all about.
Oh my goodness, I'm a deep thinker for about 30 seconds. After that, I've forgotten. I'm old, man, so I can't remember my train of thought. But here's something that comes across, and where I'm getting to, this little discussion point. Every morning I sort of think about it just before I come on here and what's it stimulating in my mind. And I've been getting the feel over the past 21 odd days or 35 odd days that there's different type of personalities, and I'm very much a business and profit driver, and there are people on here that are interested in society. And I thought I would think through what society means to me in terms of belief. And I thought, well, how do I distill my comment down to, it was Grant yesterday, where I said, distill 1, 2, 3, what it is that you actually said. So I put him, on the pedestal, and I therefore put myself on the pedestal and said, okay, how do I distill my thoughts about how society operates? And it came down to 2 things. The 2 things were, and it's around this concept of simplify, simplify, simplify in my mind. And I see only 2 movers and drivers in society. The power of good and the power of bad. Some call good and evil, and that tends to go down the religious way and doctrines and all that sort of thing. And from there, I had to rationalize in my head that at any moment in time, and this is why I call it binary, an individual, and I'm thinking through myself and everyone that I've seen for 65 years of my life, is either doing something or has an intention to do something good for themselves, their family, life in general, society, or they are deliberately out there to do something bad. So they already know right now that what they are doing from a business perspective is going to rip someone off, or what they are doing right now to the neighbor next door by throwing a spade full of dog poo over into their pool is degrading society in some little way. So I boil everything down to this drive for either doing good or doing bad, and you can enable or disable or something to that effect. Now, where does it come to the tip of the iceberg thing? This simplify, 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 simplify. I know that my thinking to get down to that distilled point is based on 65 years of my living a life and journey and watching everyone else. But I know to come to a forum like this and say, okay, these are the 2 things that I believe drive society, is based on the bulk of that iceberg of life and all of the inputs of all of the people all around, and I've taken time to distill it to the top. But what do people look at? In an instant coffee society, they don't look at the iceberg of everything that you've done. They actually just look at the tip, and then they take the decision from the tip. So I hope that explains something to you, Steve, and I can take it down a bit further. But I thought it was it made me think for 30 seconds. I'm switching off now.
Yeah, don't you just love Trevor when he simplifies things in a very complex way? So I think yeah, we could take that discussion for days, I'm sure. Nazipa, let's go across to you. I see you've got a furrowed brow, so I'd love to see what that's all about.
I was just trying to type something on chat. Maybe I may as well say it here. I was just looking on chats at Ian's question about whether we're controlled by our beliefs or by our knowledge. And I'm trying to make sense of this in my life. For example, you know, I look at beliefs as principles which guide me, like principles that I use to make sense of everyday life. And I then try to look at this in light of Ian's question about what controls me, whether it's my beliefs or my knowledge. One of my biggest beliefs, for example, is in God. I believe in God. That's where I stand. So I'm trying to answer this question. I'm asking myself, do I base my decisions on the knowledge I have of situations, or do I base it on my belief? You know, I read something somewhere which talks about how your education is useless if you can't use it to challenge your religion or your beliefs, if you can't use it to add a new body of knowledge towards your religion and your belief. And I don't know, I think I'm more driven by my belief. At the same time, as I acquire knowledge on a daily, I start then to question beliefs. There's a lot of things that I start questioning. Like, you know, I grew up believing in God, for example, and I've never stopped believing in God, but I acquire a lot of knowledge where instead of now following God as a religion, because of the knowledge I've acquired over the years, I've started to, you know, critically look at it and take the view of following spirituality, but still with the base of God over and above. Like, I've started to question religion and move more towards spirituality. I don't know if I make sense, but that's where I am. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Nazipa. Yeah, let's go across to Sally.
Morning, everybody. Okay, so for me, this topic is wow. It's I think I'm on the same page as Stella. It's given me a lot to think about, and I've actually, as everybody's been speaking, I've been making notes. Nazipa, I love the idea of I love what you said about the religion versus the spirituality. I can completely relate to that. So in terms of my contribution to this discussion is I've also grown up with beliefs, and also as you get older and as you learn, you tend to question those beliefs and sort of adjust your own, adjust your own thinking according to what you're learning. And for me, the beliefs definitely, they either sort of limit you or just let you go out and believe that you can do anything. I definitely believe that you can speak your words. I think the power of words have so much control over your subconscious. So really, to boil it down, I think for me is that if something for me is, I don't know, please tell me if I don't make sense, Lee. If something for me is not, okay, look, the things that I believe, that I choose to believe in this world today, filtering through all of this information, this mass information that we've got, at the end of the day, I have to take and choose to believe those things that resonate with my authentic self. Otherwise, I'm just going to not be doing and not be living my full life. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that was just the general thought that I had this morning, but I'm going to give it some more thought. Thanks, guys.
That's great, Sally. I don't think you must worry about that at all. I think the fact that we're getting these things out of our heads and into the ether and into the verbalization helps us translate it into things that make sense to ourselves, and that's what really matters at the end of the day, in my opinion, anyway. So let's pop across to Guy.
Morning all. Yeah, I like Trevor's word simplicity. I've always, over the past number of years, focused on trying to keep things very simple. But for the purposes of today, if I could break it down into two sort of areas, if I may. Firstly, my beliefs as a kid were based on growing up in a military household. And those beliefs were discipline, keep your word, be on time, etc., etc. And money does not grow on trees. And I only realized that when I was in my 20s. So, but anyway, so my beliefs were that sort of foundation. But then as one actually becomes an adult and one takes a journey, and one gains some more knowledge through a lot of reading, through a lot of interacting with different personalities, you get a set of values. And I think beliefs move to values, what sort of values one has. And from a personal standpoint, my beliefs now move into a combination of philosophies and spirituality. And as Stella said, or all of us know, there's something bigger than us driving us in the universe. And the roller coasters we go on, everyone goes on at whatever depths is sent there for various reasons. But my beliefs as I'm getting into the Silver Fox years is firmly based on philosophies and spirituality coming together. And I try and see what I can control. At this point in time, there's a few things that I can't control, and I try not to think of that, and that has been slightly disturbing. Cool, thank you.
Great, thanks, Sky. And I just can't believe how fast this half hour has flown, but we've still got a few folks to get to. So let's pop across to Cecile. Then I think we'll go to Ian Johnston and then to Herman, and then we'll wrap up. So Cecile, over to you.
Luckily, mine is short and sweet. I've grown up in a Christian household where my parents have lived Christian values. And interesting, I find beliefs and values pretty much go hand in hand. So I believe in the 10 Commandments, and I try and live my life according to the 10 Commandments. I'm not always successful with all of them, but I do believe that there are no big sins and small sins. If you sin in small things, it's the same as sinning in big things. So I try and limit the sins altogether. But overall, I believe in the good of people. And I find it fascinating that Trevor said that he thinks that there's good and bad, and that actually there are people that will go out and think that they are going to do bad things. Because, you know, sometimes I say to my husband, when I see someone doing something bad, or yeah, say like child molesters, and then I think to myself, do those people actually think that they are good people, or and in business, or do they intentionally go out and be bad people? And I've actually never thought about that. Thanks, Trevor. That's maybe this is a sobering thought. But there are people that actually they go out and they want to do bad things to other people in business and in personal, in the personal space. And something that Jasper said about the root of that a lot of people believe the money is the root of all evil. I've never believed that. And I'm not quite sure if it's a biblical thing. I think it's misquoted if it's a biblical thing. But also in our church, DJ would say, if you don't have money, you can't help other people. If you're sitting in poverty, it's very difficult to lift other people out of trouble and out of poverty. So my beliefs are pretty simple, and they are pretty much entwined with my values in life. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Cecile. Ian.
Yeah, very interesting discussion, and lots of picking up on what Ian was saying. I mean, you know, your beliefs, whether they stem from information you've got, knowledge you've got, or the collective unconsciousness of the people you surround yourself, or the way you brought up, your beliefs become your opinions. And when we express our opinions, we kind of tend to do it in one of two ways, either emotionally or logically. And the most difficult thing to do is to have a logical discussion with somebody who's emotional, and vice versa. So it's the way we look at things. So there was a quote from a character in one of the Shakespeare plays, and he said, "There's nothing neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so." So we look at things and we determine what we think is good and what we think is bad. But somebody else has a completely different perspective. So beliefs, yeah, it's a very complex question, but I think it just leads to opinions, which leads to the way we communicate until something or someone changes that belief by producing some facts or information that we realize that our belief is in fact not what we thought it was, like Lisa's the Father Christmas scenario. So our beliefs do change and can change once we're exposed to the other side of the story, which is what I think Steve alluded to, is the fact that if we're able to objectively look at things, listen to things, and understand things, we probably might change some of our false beliefs that aren't necessarily the right ones. So an interesting topic.
Thanks, Ian. Herman, across to you.
Wow. Leah, really, what a powerful statement. You are a believer, whether you believe it or not. And I like the kind of line Ian Sherry took when he spoke about belief and knowledge. And I think that particularly if you call to make a very important decision, it must be based on much more knowledge than on belief. Yet I'm not naive enough to say that there could be underlying beliefs that could still even impact on my knowledge. And what I really like is, I would never want to see us become totally rational and beings full of knowledge, because I think there's a mystery in life which makes actually life interesting and often challenging. So I wouldn't want to, as I said, be that kind of basing everything on knowledge only. And Trevor, I think life is a lot more complex than to just look at good or bad. And I think that could be a discussion for another morning, because similar to Cecile, I believe that people are inherently good. However, we see very bad deeds by people, but are they really inside bad people, or is it just a wrong belief system, etc.? Thanks.
Thanks, Herman. Yeah, okay, Lee, I think we'll hand back to you just for a quick wrap up, and then we'll call it a morning.
Well, thanks everyone. Really amazing what we can come up with 8 o'clock in the morning. So just imagine if it was 10 o'clock. I mean, we'd be saving the world. I think the important point and I liked what Ian Johnson was just saying, is that whether we acknowledge it or not, there are beliefs that are guiding our actions and decisions, and knowledge will definitely impact our awareness of those beliefs and our decision about what beliefs we choose to act on. And sometimes reality is one way of confronting our beliefs, that's I think why this is also very topical, because reality is very present in our faces right now. So are you living your life according to the beliefs that are going to help you? And is it time for you to think, and I say, think about your thinking, that you can be guided by thought patterns that are actually going to work for you and benefit you and society and the people around you. I'd like to pick up on what Guy said in terms of this links to values, because values, there's something integrally connects between beliefs and values, as he highlighted, and it was also something that came out of what Jasper was saying. Let's also talk about values. But I don't want to lose Herman's thread as well of good and bad. So I think those will all start, they're all going to start pulling in the same direction. So let's look at Monday. You can sleep in tomorrow and Sunday. You have my permission. And on Monday, we will start talking about values. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Lee. Yeah, and just a final thought from my side, you know, beliefs are either subconscious or conscious. And if you've never taken the time to consciously examine them, they're probably somebody else's beliefs that you've been indoctrinated with. So I suggest you take a conscious look at your beliefs and think about it over the weekend. And I see we've just got I don't even know how to describe that. So we won't go down that route. So have a fantastic weekend, folks. And we'll
half a pirate.
Enjoy the weekend. Cheers.